is on fire!
You have to check the report.
Are you kidding me?
That game was fixed.
And overall infotainment.
I'll take Jim Harbaugh.
What has he done?
Crazy Cootie coming at you.
Let's go! Yeah!
Quiet, please. In exactly 15 seconds, we'll be on the air.
Thanks, big fella.
Don't you ever come back here again.
No arguments. Those are called ass tunes.
So buckle up.
You talking to me?
Whoa!
It's time for The Drive with Jack Ebling.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Great afternoon, Mid-Michigan and beyond, and welcome to The Drive with Jack on the Spotlight Radio Network. Jack Ebling here in studio today with my producer, Alex Heward. Alex, how are you?
Doing good, Jack. How about yourself?
Good. It is another Graf of Okemos Wednesday. Graf Chevrolet and Graf Nissan side by side on West Grand River. 107 years in the automobile business. Beautiful afternoon, a little warm, but not bad here in mid-Michigan. And we have the red-hot Detroit Tigers, winners of 5 in a row, coming out of the All-Star break. We have the start of Big Ten football media days tomorrow in Indianapolis, not Chicago, Indy. And we have a world champion in the National Basketball Association for the first time in 50 years. It is the Milwaukee Bucks. And we want to welcome in, as we do each Wednesday at this time, Carlton Valentine. And he is, of course, a Michigan State basketball forward from the mid to late 1980s. He's a two-time state champion coach at Lansing Sexton, terrific developer of talent, and he is the father of Drew and Denzel Valentine. How you doing, V?
I'm good, Jack. How about you, man? It's been pretty crazy, man, 24 hours, man. I'll tell you that.
Hey, have you had a chance to talk with Bryn Forbes yet?
We have not had a conversation. We've been texting back and forth, but I can't imagine how busy he is right now, and it was crazy. I know that Bryn's mom is a little bit under the weather. She didn't make it to the championship game, but Jordan Howenstein, who works for the San Antonio Spurs, real good friend with Bryn and played for me in Sexton. He and Bryn's brother went and got the kids from San Antonio and took them to Milwaukee to the game. So his kids got to go and see him. They hadn't seen him for a while, so that was a pretty good deal. But I haven't talked to Bryn yet. We've texted back and forth, and probably the next couple of days we'll sit down and have a conversation.
How old are Bryn's kids, V?
I think Carter's 9.
Okay.
The older Carter's 9, and Leo is, I think, 4.
Okay. So Carter certainly is old enough to process what he is seeing, and maybe Leo will remember parts of it. I just heard a little bit of Bryn. I caught the tail end of an interview he did on NBA radio, and so I'm going to try to get him as a guest on this show later this week or early next week, depending on some obligations he has and parade and all those kinds of things. I know what happens when guys win a championship. You think that, well, they're done. They're not done. That's the fun is just starting. So lots of obligations when you are a world champion. I was not surprised that Milwaukee won the title, and I was very happy that they won the championship. But I think we talked about what Milwaukee had to do and what a good team Phoenix was. I think these teams were very close. And a lot of times you find in the finals that is not the case, but at least 3 of these 6 games, maybe 4, could have gone either way.
Yeah, they could have went either way. I thought that Milwaukee did a great job taking over the series by taking Chris Paul out of the game. If you remember Game 1, Chris Paul went off for 32. And it was just I from that point on. I mean, I had pretty much Phoenix or Utah coming out of the West, and I thought Phoenix would win. Right. Even though I wanted Bryn to win, I said Phoenix would do it. But you got to credit Coach Bud for putting Drew Holiday on Chris Paul, 94-50, and wearing him down. And they needed him.
Yes.
They needed his points. They needed his leadership. They needed his assertiveness. He started turning the ball over a lot.
Yeah.
I think he got tired. And you can't have that when you're trying to win. Your best players got to play their best basketball.
He played very well last night. He outplayed Jrue Holiday last night, and that's the first time I could definitively say that since they were in Phoenix for games 1 and certainly game 1 and game 2 also he was pretty good. But I give Mike Budenholzer more credit than most people most of the time, B, and I certainly do for this series because I think he made some adjustments. He did some things, and one of them was Bobby Portis's increased time. Bryn played less. He saw that matchup wasn't there for him the way it was against Miami. And as you talk about Jrue Holiday, moving him from covering Devin Booker to covering Chris Paul, they say you cut off the head of the snake and the body withers. That's exactly what happened here. And even then, it took everything they had. And I also thought that the offensive strategy with Giannis, instead of just giving him the ball at the top of the key, he moved him all over the place. And
Absolutely.
That was very important.
I thought so, too. I thought when Giannis attacked the rim and played in the restricted area,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know what his field goal percentage was, but it was a lot higher than him just playing on the perimeter.
Yeah.
So like, when he started playing like a power forward in the center,
yeah,
they took over the series. And because he was basically unguardable, going left, going right, finishing at the rim. If he gets inside, he's going to dunk the ball. And I can't remember the last time somebody had a 50-piece wing chicken dinner in the finals. 50 points and 14 rebounds.
Yeah. Jack,
you've seen more finals than me. When's the last time somebody had 50 points in the final game?
It's only happened one time, V, other than this. Bob Pettit of the old St. Louis Hawks did it when the Hawks broke through and beat the Celtics, and that was the only other time. We've had lots of games in the 40s in clinchers, but if he'd made the last free throw, he was 17 for 19 at the line and 17 for 18 until he took the last one. If he'd made that one, it would have been an NBA clincher record of 51. Instead, he tied Pettit with 50. But
amazing the way he did it, too.
Yeah.
Like you said, you know, he made 17 free throws.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he struggled all series. He struggled pretty much throughout the playoffs at the free throw line. And last night, he seemed so determined. He seemed a goal focus, locked in, like he wasn't going to miss his free throws.
Yeah, I think if you had told someone that, they're going to make 17 free throws, you'd have said, well, what did he do, shoot 40? But 17 for 19, that is extremely efficient, and 3 40-point games out of 6. And the defensive play he made that gave Milwaukee a win, a critical win, blocking DeAndre Ayton. And I still don't know how anyone is able to cover both sides of the high pick and roll. He's got the passer, and then he's got the receiver. So that was truly amazing. And then he had the other iconic play. There are really 2 plays that are going to stand out in the series, B. One of them was Giannis's block, and the other one was his alley-oop dunk after the Jrue Holiday strip steal. So he was involved in both of those.
Yeah, he was. You know, here's another point that I saw, Jack. I saw Phoenix, their style of play changed after that second game.
Yeah.
It looks like, you know, everybody, let's stand up. Once Devin Booker had a bad game, it looked like he was out to prove that he could get his, and he got his, but nobody else got theirs. Everybody stood around and watched Devin Booker.
Right.
And that wasn't the style of play that I thought got them to the finals. I thought that they passed the ball around the perimeter. They hit the open man. They were cutting. They were running. They were doing that. And when they played football, it wasn't good for Phoenix.
The guy who really gave Phoenix a lift last night and turned a 13-point first quarter deficit into was a 5-point halftime lead was Cameron Payne. And
yes.
Cam Payne, great name for a politician, came off the bench and he had 10 quick points, really changed the complexion of the game. And I thought Monty Williams should have gone back to him. He did not in a significant role at the right time. And what he had out there wasn't working. DeAndre Ayton wasn't the same player. And I also thought Brook Lopez, really an unsung contribution last night and through most of the playoffs. But last night, when he was out there, and it wasn't much, he was better than Ayton.
Well, hey, look, we talked about Ayton last night and this morning. We thought that that he was a little bit shook. I think that stage was a little bit too much for him.
Yeah.
He wasn't finishing at the rim. He was missing shots real close to the rim. He wasn't quite the defender and rim protector that he could have been. Giannis was blowing by him like he was standing still. And quite honestly, I thought Frank Kaminsky came in and he gave Phoenix some good minutes. And I would have went back to Frank because he was finishing. He was making the right passes. He was cutting. He was he blocked the shot. So I think you're absolutely a campaign and Frank Kaminsky came in off the bench and gave them a lift when they needed it. But ultimately, it was Giannis's performance of 50 points, man. I mean, come on. I can't. I remember when Irvin had that 42-point game back in 1980 when they won the World Championship against the Philadelphia 76ers. It was a game delay. I remember that.
Yes.
Because I was a kid back in D.C. and it was just amazing to watch that. But this 50-point thing, man, wow.
That was the only other game that I could come up with, and I went back through all the clinchers that I had seen, and that goes back to the mid-1960s. And the only game that would compare in terms of an individual performance to last night's was what Irvin did in Game 6 in Philadelphia when he played center, forward, point guard, took the center tap, sat in cap seat on the bus, gave the speech. I mean, it was a near-perfect performance. And last night's was pretty close when you think about that. And Bucks needed it. They only had 5 players score, V.
That's right. That's right. It was crazy. Only 5 players scored. And how about P.J. Tucker, man? You can't say enough about that guy who sacrificed everything for the team on the defensive end, guarding Devin Booker, who are guarding Chris Paul, guarding the bigs, Ayton. It didn't matter what he had to do. It's a guy who scored 0 points, man, had 0 points, but was such a factor throughout, not just in the finals, but throughout the whole NBA playoffs.
Right. Well, the Bucks did some different things, including Giannis in the middle, but most of the minutes there divided between Lopez and Portis, and those two guys that you don't hear much about outscored DeAndre Ayton 26-12.
Wow. Yeah, BP came in cooking right away. He hit that corner 3, and the rest was history. I'm happy for Bobby. It's crazy because Bobby Portis was in Chicago with Denzel for his first couple seasons. As a matter of fact, his first 3 seasons. And then at the midway point, Bobby was traded to the Washington Wizards. So he's been with the Bulls, the Wizards, and the Knicks. And now he wins a championship with the Milwaukee Bucks. So I was happy for BP. And then he played with Cam Payne too. That was one of the guys he hung out with all the time when Cam was in in Chicago. His campaign was in China last year. It's crazy. He was in China.
Okay.
And then they called him back just before they went into the bubble. Had a great series in the bubble. They re-signed him, and, man, he's in the finals. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. He's in China last year, Jack.
I didn't know that. You know, the only thing that really bothered me about last night, V, and I've thought that the Bucks were disrespected for a long time. I thought they got kind of a bad rap a couple years ago when they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals to Kawhi and the Raptors. I don't think they ever got their due as being the winningest team in the NBA. And I think maybe it's not deliberate, maybe it's almost subliminal to want to discredit small market teams. But I really don't like to hear after a team wins a championship that, well, they were just lucky because there was an injury to Dario Saric, or, you know, that team, if Kevin Durant hadn't had such big feet, never would. You know what? They were there. They made it through. They were 16-7 in the playoffs. They weren't 16-12. They were good enough to win 3 series on the road, to overcome opening losses in 3 of them and 0-2 deficits in 2 of them. They become just the 5th team in NBA history to overcome an 0-2 deficit and win the finals, and just the 3rd team in history, V, along with the 77 Portland Trailblazers and 2006 Heat, to go down 0-2 and then not need a Game 7. They won 4 in a row. So anyone who's trying to discredit this team today, or say, you know, Budenholzer still can't coach, he's just lucky he had Giannis, those people need to get a life, because I'd like to critique them.
Absolutely. But you know what? There's 2 ways you can always look at something. I always say you can look at it through the positive lens and the negative lens. Yeah. I always choose to look at it through the negative lens. I can see everything that was positive. I thought, I mean, Jack, everybody had to see, if you were watching the game, you had to see the Fear the Deer section outside.
Yeah.
I mean, we talking about, what, they said it was almost 50,000 people out there.
65 last night.
65,000.
Yeah.
That's you know, that's a championship city.
Yeah.
That's a championship. I mean, everybody came out to root on their champion, man.
Yeah.
There's no way you're going to discredit them. And the classiness, how about the classiness of Monty Williams going into the locker room and congratulating the champions after the game was over? He didn't have to do that.
No.
That says a lot about him and his character and the kind of person he is. You know, after suffering that terrible tragedy in 2016 where he lost his wife and his daughter, you know, in a horrific accident. And for him to be able to get back and do the things he's doing, man, it says a lot about him.
You won't find anybody who has a bad word to say about Monty Williams. You can ask a lot of people, and you won't find anything negative. But what he did last night was not only classy, it reminded me of something that happened while you were on campus at Michigan State, and when Michigan State beat Indiana in the Big Ten football showdown in '87. That's hard to imagine, but Michigan State played Indiana, and the winner was going to go to the Rose Bowl.
I was at that game.
Yeah, and Bill Mallory, the coach of the Hoosiers, when it was over, came into the Michigan State locker room, and he and George Perlis had been friends, but, I mean, nobody knows what happens when a coach goes into the other locker room. You know, you're going to do something, and he said he wanted to talk to the team, and George trusted him, said, okay, you have at it. And he got up, and he gave the fieriest speech. It was a better speech than George ever gave. And he said, I'm sick and tired of all the stuff. What's Pac-12? Go out there and kick their ass. And I mean, he went on and on. By the time it was done, these guys wanted to tear the door off the locker room.
Yeah. Amazing, man. But that so classy of Bill Mallory to do that, you know, very, very humble in defeat.
Yeah.
Very classy in defeat. I've been beat a lot. I've won a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it says a lot when you can go, and I remember when I lost, I beat Keith Guy. He's the coach in Muskegon, but he was coaching in Muskegon Heights. He came over in our locker room. He congratulated us. And when the media interviewed Keith Guy, he said, hey, it was clearly their time to win.
Yeah.
Coach had prepared. They played well. And I've always respected Keith Guy for coming over and doing that with us.
Last thing for you, V. What about the Bucks' place in history and moving forward? Do they have to win another one to be validated? Now, I've heard people today say, well, it was a COVID year, so you really can't count it. I'm so tired of that crap. And I wonder what they have to do to be recognized for their accomplishments. If they had won this thing in 7 instead of 6, they would have been the first team in NBA history to win 4 series on the road.
Well, I think their place is cemented in history. They're an NBA champion, and their name is going on the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Their place is cemented in history. What they can do, if they win another one or if they win back-to-back, is they'll cement it even further.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anytime a champion wins back-to-back championships, it's borderline dynasty.
I think of the Houston Rockets. That's another team that was incredibly disrespected because, if Michael hadn't been hitting curveballs, they never would have won anything. Let me tell you, they would have beat the Bulls at least one of those years. And I'm not sure Chicago would have made it. Talking to Steve Kerr, said, we had nothing left. I mean, after, you win 3 championships, you're done.
Yeah. No, you're exhausted, man. Exhausted.
So it'll be interesting to see. I know they have their big 3, Giannis, Chris Middleton, another underrated guy, and Giroux locked up. But Bobby Portis is a free agent, and there are some others. There could be some attrition. Almost always is. I can't remember the last time a team returned everyone back from a championship team. So something will change. But the core of this team is there, and it's hard to believe Giannis is 26 years old. He started in the NBA at 18, and that was his rookie year. You look at the pictures of him when he was 195 pounds instead of 242.
Wow, that's crazy. I saw that side by side of him, and that was crazy. He unbelievable. I really do think that Giannis Antetokounmpo has cemented himself as a top 3 player in this league, if not top 2. Anytime you win a championship, you have to be one of the top 1 or 2 or 3 players in the league, and it's going to be interesting, like you said, to see who comes back. I know they played without Dante DiVincenzo. He's still under his rookie deal. Pat Connaughton's locked up. I think Lopez will be back.
Yeah.
But they're going to have to get some different pieces because of just the business of basketball. You know what I mean? So, so excited for Bren. So excited for Milwaukee. It was great to see Abdul-Jabbar at the game.
Yeah.
With Oscar Robertson, one of the earlier games, man. I had chills when I saw those two, man. That was big time.
It reminds me, thank you for bringing that up, because I'm going to try to get a hold of Oscar. I don't have a number for Kareem, but I do have for Oscar. He's been a guest on this show and a phenomenal guest. So we're going to try to get him and Bryn on and kind of put the series in perspective. V, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. And you get a couple weeks off before basketball really gets going here in the Olympics, and that'll be it until we get ready for next season.
Well, we got the draft next week, so.
Oh, that's right. We got that Thursday, right?
We got the draft next week, and
yeah, that's right. 29th.
And Olympic game starts on Sunday. They'll be playing on Sunday. So.
All right. Thanks so much. We will be right back. Tom Lang is in studio for The Long Drive, and we have Nathan Clark here. We're going to talk about Greater Lansing Area Golf Association and much, much more coming up on The Drive with Jack.
Did you know you don't need any experience to apply at Dean Transportation? Because Dean provides free CDL training for their new bus drivers, and they will pay to train. Dean Transportation is hiring caring and dependable people as school bus drivers in Lansing and surrounding areas. Train for a rewarding career and safely transport children to and from school with Dean. Positions are currently available for the right candidates. Excellent driving history is required. You will earn $15.20 to $16.20 per hour, depending on location. Dean also offers their drivers a competitive benefits package, including health insurance, 401k, and paid time off, plus flexible scheduling and advancement opportunities with their growing company. Dean Transportation will train you to be a professional school bus driver for your community. Apply today. For more information and to apply, visit deantransportation.com/jobs. That's DEAN, transportation.com/jobs. Dean Transportation is an equal opportunity employer.
Welcome to Be the Referee with MHSAA Assistant Director Brent Rice.
After an uproar about officiating in a recent pro football game, an online article appeared with the headline, "Why in the world would anyone want to be a referee?" It's a good question. While everyone in the game, players, coaches, and officials, strive for perfection, only the officials are ultimately expected to reach that standard, and that's simply not fair. So why would anyone want to be a referee? Every referee will give you 3 little words: I love it. They love it because they know how important it is, no matter the level of play. And they want to be right all the time, and most of the time they are. And like a lot of other things in sports, the friendships and relationships built, the memories, they can't be beat. So we'll all encourage people to join us as referees, and for those of you who can't or won't, to stay in your lane when at the game.
Thanks, Brent. You can be a referee. Go online now to register at MHSAA.com. Be the Referee is a production of the MHSAA Network.
Jack Ebling here with Forest Acres course manager Brian Harris. Brian, it's just about time for some new product. You've got them all here at Acres and terrific club fitting.
Yeah, we've got some of the best club fitting in the state of Michigan. We utilize the TrackMan technology with all the major brands. So if you're looking for clubs for yourself or that special person in your life, then we're the place to go.
Lots of different manufacturers.
Lots of different ones from all the major brands, Titleist, Callaway, Ping, and more. So please come see us for your club fitting today.
Stop out at Forest Acres. Take care of your golf game.
This is Dr. John Wyckoff. Are you sick and tired of being tired and sick? Maybe you need to take the right supplements. Save 20% on all of our quality supplements during the summer supplement extravaganza sale. Save on all of our supplements to help improve energy, reduce brain fog, improve sleep, normalize GI functions, and stabilize mood. Save 20% on all of our great supplements both in the East Lansing office or online at wycoffwellness.com. Improve your health and get on the path to wellness today with Wyckoff Wellness.
Jack Ebling here with my good friend Matt Sloan at Graph of Okemos. Matt, you got some new product, including electric vehicles.
Yeah, we got a lot of new product coming, Jack. On the Chevy side, we've got the 2022 Bolt EV and all-new Bolt EUV, which is just redesigned from the ground up. We're really excited about that. That's going to be hitting a lot any day now. Next door at Nissan, we've got the all-new redesigned Pathfinder from the ground up. I got to sit in it recently, drop dead gorgeous. And then we have the 2022 Frontier as well, which is completely redesigned. So fantastic product coming, and we're really excited.
Stop by and see Matt and company here at Graph of Okemos. They're making friends.
I'm Tony Cuthbert with your Spotlight Sports Update. The Bucks are NBA champions for the first time in 50 years after beating the Suns 105-98 in Game 6 of the NBA Finals in Milwaukee. Giannis Antetokounmpo went off for 50 points and 14 boards, earning NBA Finals MVP honors. The Bucks become just the 5th team to win a title after trailing 2-0 in the finals. Chris Middleton netted 17 points and Bobby Portis posted 16 points off the bench and the victory. The Tigers' winning streak is up to 5 games after a 4-1 victory over the Texas Rangers at Comerica Park. Robbie Grossman and Eric Haas each had a solo homer, and Tarek Skubal allowed just 1 run in his start. Matt Manning gets the nod for Detroit tonight, while Texas sends Jordan Lyles to the mound. And Tigers starting pitcher Spencer Turnbull will undergo Tommy John surgery and miss the rest of the 2021 season and most or all of 2022.
You're listening to The Drive with Jack Ebling.
So for all the doubters out there, stuff it!
SpotlightMediaStudios.com.
Welcome back. It is The Drive with Jack, the Spotlight Radio Network. All of our Wednesday shows brought to you by Graf of Okemos, Graf Chevrolet and Graf Nissan. 107 years in the automobile business. Stop and see Matt, Mark, and Greg. They'll take great care of you, as they have on all 7 of my leases and purchases. It is time for The Long Drive, brought to you by Forest Acres and Golf MSU. And we're going to talk with Brian Harris a little later. I want to welcome in Tom Lang from Michigan Golf Journal. It is a must-read for anyone who cares about golf in the state of Michigan. Tom, how are you?
Appreciate that. Doing great today. Beautiful sunny day.
Yeah. Well, you have a special guest today. Do you want to do the introduction on Nathan?
Sure. We've got Nathan Clark with us, former All-City champ, right?
Yep.
I knew you came more than just close once or twice.
12 times or 11 times? Oh, okay.
And he is a board member for GLAGA, the Greater Lansing Area Golf Association. And we just thought we'd talk a little All-City today and what GLAGA does. So, Nathan, I guess our first question would be, what is kind of the mission of GLAGA? And
first of all, what does it stand for people who don't understand
Greater Lansing
the acronym,
Area,
right?
Yeah, Greater Lansing Area Golf Association.
Yeah, Greater Lansing Amateur Golf Association.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. So the mission statement for the charity is to increase participation in junior golf throughout mid-Michigan. So any of the funds we bring in, that's been the focus throughout the history of it. And we're just kind of getting creative with ways we can increase that.
First impression here, Tom. Nathan has a radio voice. He could do this.
I
know
the
you
same
got
thing.
those pipes, but that's pretty good. In terms of GLAGA, how long have you been associated with it?
As a board member, gosh, probably 6 years now. But played in the events when I was younger.
Product of it, you understand its importance, right? Yeah. Tom, how did you get to know Nathan?
Just covering that event mostly. I did a lot of work in the past for the Lansing State Journal.
Yeah.
Wrote some advanced stories on the All-City tournament. Dug into the history pretty deep, actually.
Yeah. What do you have for us?
We can trace the All-City Championship back to 1940 minimum, with trophies and that type of thing.
Okay.
But I actually found some history later that I have to reconfirm. I don't want to tell anyone false tales, but I could have sworn there was actually a tournament in 1926. Even.
Really?
And Groesbeck has been a main supporter in the past in the history. It would rotate between Country Club of Lansing and Walnut Hills as well. More recent times, Forest Acres has kind of taken over as the host.
Okay.
With a few years, about 15 years ago, that Hawk Hollow and Eagle Eye hosted as well.
A little less than that.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's just got a great history.
Back to the Bud Reniger days?
Exactly. So 1940 were for sure, and then we found there was a gap in the history I couldn't confirm.
Yeah.
But we assumed it kept playing in the late 40s and early 50s. In 1956, it actually became the Lansing State Journal All-City Championship, and so there's some trophies showing that as well. But there's
GLAGA is much more than just an All-City Championship.
For sure.
Guys, I became familiar with it in my days at the Lansing State Journal, my 25 years there, and Jim Donahue, who was a terrific leader for area golf and did a ton of work. And he said, you want to understand golf in Greater Lansing, and get to know what this organization does and the people, because they're the movers and shakers. And he was absolutely right. So anybody who dedicates themselves to that, especially for the development of junior golf in the area, that's the future. And I'm sure that's important to you too, Nathan.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's how I grew up, and golf's given me a lot. So anything I can do to kind of give back is what my personal goal is. So being on the board and being able to help influence that.
So what can GLAGA do for junior golf? What does it do? And what is the health status of junior golf in mid-Michigan?
It's a great question. Because when I grew up, there was a GLAGA All-City Junior Tournament. And a lot of the local junior tournaments have gone to the wayside with some of the Meyer Tours, and they've had different names over time. So we've done scholarships for junior players that are going on to college, or they're relatives of golfers. They didn't have to specifically be a golfer, but there was a golf influence in their life. And we've moved on from that a little bit. We've given money to high school programs in the area, and now we're exploring other ways of there's junior programs at courses all throughout the area. So whether it's subsidizing a junior player's fees for something like that, so there's a lot of things we're working on currently, as well as some of the things we've done in the past. Just trying to really spread it around and figure out how we can impact several areas.
Tom, you're familiar with all communities in the state of Michigan with what you do, Michigan Golf Journal. Can you compare amateur golf here in Greater Lansing with maybe other communities around the state? And I assume most areas have some sort of golf association. How do they differ from Glaga?
Well, Flint is very heavy in amateur golf. Grand Rapids might have the biggest amateur golf tournament as a community. Metro Detroit's kind of segmented. It's such a large community, of course. It's hard for one singular community to run an event, but I know they have some. But the Grand Rapids one, I think, stands out to me the most. But I know people who travel from Grand Rapids to play in the Lansing All-City. You don't have to be a Lansing resident or even live in mid-Michigan to play in it, unless the rules have changed, right, Nathan? Or?
No, and that's a change we made a few years ago.
You used to have to live within a certain geographic area, right? You don't anymore.
No, we changed that to kind of open it up and try to make it a bigger, well-run, kind of elite championship. So we've had, and some of it, there's people that were from this area and they still have family here. We've got a group of 3 brothers that are in their 50s. That one lives in, I think it's Virginia, comes back to play in it along with his 2 brothers that still live in Michigan. One's east side of Detroit and one's local here.
Okay. We've kicked around the word elite golfer. Well, I want to assure everybody, everyone out there, the All-City Championship and other Glaga events are not for elite golfers only.
Flighted?
Sure, they are flighted. They get some more of the media exposure. The State Journal is really good over the years of covering the All-City Championship and other events like that. But I've played in the event, and I'm a 17.9 handicap. And I was recalling a story I wrote about the experience playing in the All-City about 10 years ago. And, I was all whimsical about first tee. I was standing up there ready to try and knock a 220 down the fairway, and I quickly duck-hooked it right into a Canadian goose.
Oh.
I winged him. And there's more players like me than there are elite players playing in that tournament, and that's the important part. This is to grow golf and support local amateur golf. It's not to just try and crown champions. Would you agree, Nathan?
Yeah, so when I said elite tournament, I meant as far as the experience you play, but at every level of golfer. So, and we have senior division, super senior division, women's divisions, so we're really looking to encompass everybody that likes to play golf. Hey, you might keep score with your buddies. It's a little different when you get in an actual tournament, and those scores are going to be posted publicly. So it's kind of fun. You get the nerves up and go have fun. So like you mentioned with flighting, so after 2 rounds, you're playing with other players that have shot similar scores to you.
Right.
And trying to win a prize.
It's just a cool thing to do, a 54-hole tournament. It means something. And the scores definitely go up because you're not playing with your buddies. They'll call you if you move the ball or not take a proper penalty shot or whatever. So scores definitely elevate.
The thing that I always liked about it, and I took over golf coverage at the Journal for a brief period of time after the great Fred Staley Jr. and James Tinney covered golf, and then that's what I did in the summer. Not as well as they did, but I would say the opportunity to see the public course player versus the club player, and guys who normally didn't play that much together or didn't associate, but you'd see Country Club of Lansing guys, and then you'd find guys who played Groesbeck or Acres, and it was a little bit different. It's almost like seeing what happened in the Honor Roll Champions track meet, where you would have city school runners going against people from outlying areas, and they would never compete against each other except for that meet. And in the All-City, you really got to see who the best players were.
Mm-hmm. I agree completely.
Yeah. So the research you have done there, Tom, I see once again you are incredibly prepared. Of the best players, the All-City champions, the ones who've won it the most times, who is the second best All-City champion behind Nathan?
That's a good question. But the history shows Bud Reniger won it 4 times, maybe 5.
Yeah.
That's part of the problem with the records aren't as complete.
Good enough to have a street named after him.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Over at Red Cedar?
Yep. Gary Domagowski won 3 times. A gentleman named Jack Pitts, I believe he was at Michigan State for a while, won 3
quarterback
times.
there. He would have been an incredible quarterback if he hadn't broken his neck.
I believe that.
Yeah.
And Bobby Fossum won it 3 times in the 80s and late 90s.
Yeah. Jack Pitts is a great story, guys. You don't talk about his football exploits, but he was one of Duffy Doherty's favorite recruits. And if you could say 3 guys in your career, if they hadn't gotten injured, Bob Apisa would have been one, and I think Jack Pitts would have been one because he threw the ball with both hands. He'd roll to his right and throw it right hand. He'd roll to his left. He'd throw it left.
Oh, you meant he could go throw from either side.
Throw from either side. He was never throwing back against his body, and then took up golf. Phenomenal.
Yeah, and the athleticism came out. Yeah. He did really well at the game.
Yeah. Bob Fossum?
He's one of them. Yeah. He won it 3 times as well, 85, 86, and 98. So, so if anyone out there loves history and golf, maybe they can do more research and kind of fill in the gaps, and I can hand over the notes I have.
Is any of this going to be posted anywhere? Michigan Golf Journal? Do you have a place where you can tuck this?
It was already posted at Lansing State Journal 9 years ago or so. So if anyone Googles it, they can read more stories about it.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Is there anything, Nathan, that you want to tell us about the organization or about that event, or if somebody wants to help junior golf, what can they do?
Well, they can go to our website, www.glagaglaga.org, and they can contact us through that. We're always looking for new active board members to help at tournaments, to help with some of the charitable things we're working on. Right now, we have a board comprised of working professionals, so there's got to be a demographic, we think, of either early retirees or and those that are just passionate about golf that have some time, because I think time is one of the hardest things to come by these days for a lot of people.
What was the year your first time playing in the All-City? Do you remember?
For me?
Yeah.
Gosh, it was probably 97 when I graduated high school.
And when you broke through and won the championship would have been?
99, I believe.
2 years after that. So we're talking about 22 years since you won. How has the event changed, and in terms of the growth or other things that people would be interested in knowing, 2 decades ago to what it is now?
I think the flow of the tournament, as far as the 54-hole format, has stayed very consistent.
Yeah.
It was at Forest Acres every year back then, and it's gone through, like we talked about earlier, some different courses as hosts, and we've our focus now is to keep it pretty much at Forest Acres. So
right.
You see all the big tournaments on the PGA Tour that all of the best players go to, they're hosted on the same course every year.
Yeah.
So our goal is just to make everything a quality event and something you look forward to every year. So not just that event, we do basically an event every month from April through September. So Glaga has 6 different events we run throughout the summer, or the golfing months, I should say, in Michigan. And
has anyone ever won all 6?
No, not yet. Not in the same year.
Yeah.
Because some of them are team events, but no, we haven't had the same.
It's the Glaga Grand Slam, right?
Yeah.
They win them all.
Grand
plus,
Slam
plus 2.
There was one year, I myself, when I was in college, won the 3 main events: the Spring Medal, the match play, and the All-City. I think that's been done by a few people.
Yeah.
Over time. So.
And women are invited.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They very few enter, but they would like to expand that division for sure.
What's the age range? What about the youngest and oldest players you have in the All-City, or maybe, Tom, the youngest and oldest champions. Do we know that?
I didn't do that much detailed research, but Zach Rosendale out of St. John's, when he was 13, played in the All-City match play and got pretty deep. I think he went to at least quarterfinals.
Yeah.
You know, he was hitting woods out of the fairway to keep up with guys maybe hitting 7-iron or something. Yeah. But he was 13 years old and he got to the quarterfinals.
Nathan, do you think we can get a copy of Tom Lang's scorecards from when he played in the All-City?
I'm sure they were thrown out.
I really want those. I think those would be collector's items. Those would be worth a lot on the open market.
I don't think we have the scorecards, but on our website has all the past results.
Okay, all right. That'll work.
You could find it.
That'll work.
I don't even remember what they were, but
yeah.
they were not good.
Part of the history over this last winter, we came across a lot of the old newsletters. So back in the past, when Glaga didn't really run a lot of events back in the 80s, and so they promoted all of the area events and courses that hosted tournaments.
Yeah.
And there was some exceptional writers that were on the board writing articles for their newsletters. So I scanned all of those in, so they are all on the website if you ever want to look back at some of the history and read some of those. Yeah.
I want to bring you up to speed, and Tom, we talked a little bit about Drew Miller, and I think Nathan, you were aware he was playing in the U.S. Junior Amateur at the Country Club of North Carolina, Pinehurst, and was played phenomenally well. It's 2 rounds of stroke play and qualifying for match play with the field of 64. In the first round, he played the tougher of the 2 18s and shot 72. So he was tied for 40th place, and he'd already played the tough layout. Didn't play as well yesterday, but was in position, and it was early. He was one of the first ones done. So this worked against him. And he's on the 18th tee, and he's looking, and he says, I probably need a birdie here. And it's 603-yard par 5.
Wow.
So he's thinking, I've got to try to get home in 2 or close to it. And hits his driver, and Vic Whip, was his caddy. And the ball landed in the rough by about 4 yards, but Vic said it was the worst lie he has ever seen that close to a fairway. It was in some kind of bird dropping or something. There was nothing he could do about it. And he wound up chopping it out and then hitting a shot that was just short, and then he pitched up, didn't make the putt. Anyway, so he got a double. He took a 7 on it, and he missed the cut because of that. If he had just not looked at the board and said, I'm going to take my 5 here, he'd be in match play. So, but hey, you learn a lot, and, these are the lessons for young golfers.
Yeah, every golfer has a different style. Some hate looking at the scoreboard, some love it, and motivates them differently.
I want to welcome in, and Nathan, appreciate you sticking around for this part of the long drive, Brian Harris.
Great.
And he is a course manager, head professional for Forest Acres and Golf MSU. How you doing, Brian?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you?
Good. We're not going to waste any time talking about your British Open picks.
They weren't very good this time around.
But I want to talk about the All-City and what that means, how significant is it, and in terms of the championships, competitions you have each year at Forest Acres, how does it stack up?
Oh, it's one of the important ones. We've been able to host the All-City for many years now, and it's really the final year-end tournament that allows, the city's best players to come compete over 3 days on our 2 courses with the championship flight playing the West course on the last day. And we've seen some wonderful players over the years, from Bob Mathiesen to a young man by the name of Grant Hefner last year who shot 64 on the West course and had it going, pretty good through about 12 or 13 holes. And then we got rained out on Sunday. But just an important championship. It's great to have all the city players out here of all skill levels, and just a really nice event to host, and we're fortunate to have hosted it for quite a while.
You just touched on the fact that we've been talking about all the different skill levels, and that's what's kind of cool about it. Yes, the names that you mentioned and the great scores are really cool to watch, but What have been your impressions of seeing the people who know they're not going to win it, but they still come out every year and they just seem to have a blast with it?
Part of it, Tom, is that they get to play with a bunch of folks that they might not have known prior to playing the event, so they make some new friends. But I think deep down, regardless of our skill level, we like to compete a little bit and just to see how we handle ourselves or how our game handles itself under more of a pressure situation than just playing a Sunday game with your friends. So. I've seen some scores in this tournament that people might say is not as great, but the guys keep coming back, they keep trying, and, they get better and better every day. And obviously tournament golf is way different than playing with our friends. So it's nice to see, again, all those skill levels come out and play and compete and have a really enjoyable time. And I know you've covered it a little bit, so you've seen some of the great players that have come through and played and won the event.
Nathan, do you have a question for Brian Harris?
No, not really, other than we need to meet pretty soon regarding the event.
Sounds good, my friend. Sounds good.
More than that, I just have I can't say enough about what they do for us when we're there and helping us run the event.
How do they help you? What's the most important thing that the Acres personnel?
Well, first, their greenskeepers get the course in phenomenal shape, and then Brian and his staff do just an amazing job and go above and beyond any other course with helping us record scores at the first tee, handing out scorecards and getting the players off kind of for us, which takes a lot of the weight and burden off of us, which they're the only course in the area that does all of that.
So, Brian, in terms of tournament management and course setup, what's important for the All-City, and is it the Forest Acres that we could go out and play tomorrow, or do you do anything special?
No, it's, I've always taken the approach, because I like to set the pin locations for all 3 days. And I've always taken the approach where, you try to do 6 easy pins, 6 medium, and 6, difficult pins on each course for each day. There's a few times where I like to get a little creative on some of the difficult pins and try to force the golfer on a hole that may be an easier driving hole to have to hit a nice shot into the green. Just to try it out. But I do like to make it fair. For some reason, and Nate could speak to this maybe a little bit, the East course, even though it's a little shorter distance of a course, somehow plays a little more challenging for the All-City for some reason. I've never figured out why, but you see some scores there that you go, oh, this course can kind of hold up to some of the better players, and I think that's kind of fun to see what I've seen over the years. But again, try to make it fair for everybody so that they can have an enjoyable time.
Nathan, what's your take on that?
Well, the East course is a little more diabolical than it looks on the surface. The greens are bigger, they have more slope, and I think people go into it with the mindset that they're going to shoot a better score. And usually when your expectations get up, it's hard to stay with them.
I was thinking the same thing, that you go in thinking, East is supposed to be easier, but that can really mess with your head at any kind of golf course or situation.
Yeah, I think, Brian, a lot of the reviews we get from people who don't normally play the East course would indicate that. And you got people coming from all over the place, even people locally who might be playing clubs and they don't play Acres a lot. What kind of reaction do you get?
Yeah, I think they're surprised, especially those folks that are playing it for the first time in many years. We try to take as good a care of the property as we can. And I think over the years, the East course has kind of matured a little bit more than it was, obviously, when it first opened. But it's just got to be a nice, friendly, challenging golf course. And I do think people enjoy that part of it. There's some easy holes, and there's some holes where you got to pay attention and golf your ball pretty well to get around them and even par.
Brian, thanks for joining us. Look forward to that. We know Acres is going to do a great job. Nathan, thanks for coming in. It's great to see you and get a chance to talk about this. Congratulations on all the work you do as a board member. I know how important this organization is. Tom, good get, and we will see you again next week.
Sounds great.
Also want to thank Golf MSU for a sponsorship of the Long Drive, and we have another month or so to go here. Golf season does not end with the All-City. We will be right back on The Drive with Jack.
Hello, Hello, this is Mary Stucco with Education Unfiltered. Education is so important, and it doesn't mean you have to have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or a PhD. It's really about what is best for you and what you need to take, whether it's a certificate or studying something in the trades or you need an associate's degree to further develop yourself. There's a great opening for people at all ages and at all stages of life who are looking to go back into education and redevelop themselves. Check out my latest podcast with Davenport University and Lansing Community College as they join forces to host an online event to start or finish your degree. Like and subscribe to Spotlight Podcast on our YouTube and Facebook pages and watch all my episodes, or you can listen in on your favorite podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Play by simply searching Education Unfiltered. This is Mary Stucco. See you soon with more conversation on Education Unfiltered.
When it's your moment, that once-in-a-lifetime moment, you don't just want jewelry. You can get that anywhere. You want a memory that will go down in history, your moment. We're Medawar, crafted with exquisite style, quality, and love, so your present will be stunning every time you look at it, every time someone notices it, and they will notice. We've devoted our lives to this art, and we're proud to share it with you. The gift you want to give is here.
Medawar Jewelers in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, Portage, and Brighton.
Live across the Great Lakes State, you're connected to Michigan's most engaging and influential radio and television program, Michigan's Big Show, starring Michael Patrick Shields.
Great to be with you, Michael Patrick. You're the show I would want to be on. Forget those other ones.
Michael Patrick, it's always a pleasure to be on the air with the King of the Airwaves. Thanks for having me on again.
That's a very good question.
Those are all great questions. Good morning.
Thank you. Michigan's Michael Patrick Shields.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Taylor. Joint Chiefs Chairman Mark Milley is being tight-lipped on critical remarks attributed to him in books about the last days of the Trump administration.
I'm not going to comment on what's in any of those books.
Milley did not deny assertions in the book that he worried that Trump might try to stage a coup to retain power after losing the election to Biden. Harvey Weinstein is pleading not guilty to new charges of sexual assault in Los Angeles County. Weinstein was convicted in New York last year for sexual assault and rape and was sentenced to 23 years in prison. He was arraigned in a downtown Los Angeles courtroom today on sex-related charges involving 5 women. If convicted, he could spend the rest of his life in prison. Even if there wasn't a pandemic, this year's Summer Olympics will be different. Doug Thompson with more.
Number of new sports are making their debuts at the Tokyo Games. Caroline Marks among the 40 athletes riding the waves in Olympic surfing.
Hopefully we have some great waves to perform on.
Top contenders for surfing medals come from the U.S. and Australia, but experts say don't count out Brazil and Japan.
Lisa Taylor, NBC News Radio.
Michael Patrick Shields here with Matt Rhodes at Dusty's Cellar. 2020's gone. There's some things I won't miss, but there sure are some things here I want to hold on to.
Yeah, as unusual as 2020 was, there'll be one constant for 2021, and that our 6 for 60 wine club is going strong and will continue to do so for the upcoming year.
I know you added some options, the Pinot Grigio, the Rosé, Parducci, and all the reds and whites and mixed. Going to do the same this year?
Absolutely. We'll carry on with all the variations of the club we offered this past year, and we'll be looking for more creative new club ideas as the year goes on.
I do like those top shelf, top 100 selections. You have over 100 wines offered at $15 or less, but they're all highly rated by a wine publication. Will you keep that up?
Absolutely. 100 wines, red, white, rosé, dry, sweet, whatever your taste. We'll have a wine for you at $15 or less, a highly rated wine, a great value.
Cheers, and you can join me in the Dusty's Cellar 6 for 60 Wine Club. Just pop on dustycellar.com and have a look, or go on into the store on Grand River in Okemos, just a little east of the Meridian Mall.
Cheers, Michael.
I'm Tony Cuthbert with your Spotlight Sports Update. The Bucks are NBA champions for the first time in 50 years after beating the Suns 105-98 in Game 6 of the NBA Finals in Milwaukee. Giannis Antetokounmpo went off for 50 points and 14 boards, earning NBA Finals MVP honors. The Bucks become just the 5th team to win a title after trailing 2-0 in the finals. Chris Middleton netted 17 points and Bobby Portis posted 16 points off the bench and the victory. The Tigers' winning streak is up to 5 games after a 4-1 victory over the Texas Rangers at Comerica Park. Robbie Grossman and Eric Haas each had a solo homer, and Tarek Skubal allowed just 1 run in his start. Matt Manning gets the nod for Detroit tonight, while Texas sends Jordan Lyles to the mound. And Tigers starting pitcher Spencer Turnbull will undergo Tommy John surgery and miss the rest of the 2021 season and most or all of 2022.
This is it right here.
Combining a team of reporters, columnists, and commentators.
Don't you ever talk about me.
Are you serious?
Jack Ebling has brought thought-provoking discussion.
What are you doing? That's a damn coaching mistake.
Opinion.
The customer is the one who decides when the future gets here.
Oh, no! The ship is on fire!
You have to check the report.
Are you kidding me? That game was fixed.
And overall infotainment.
I'll take Jim Harbaugh.
What has he done? Crazy Cootie coming at you.
Quiet, please. In exactly 15 seconds, we'll be on the air.
Thanks, big fella.
Don't you ever come back here again.
No arguments. Those are called ass tunes.
So buckle up.
You talking to me?
Whoa!
It's time for The Drive with Jack Ebling.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Welcome back to The Drive with Jack, the Spotlight Radio Network. All our Wednesday shows brought to you by Graf of Okemos, Graf Chevrolet, and Graf Nissan side by side on West Grand River. They're open late Mondays and Thursdays. Stop and see Matt and company. They'll take great care of you. I want to welcome in Jim Stark. He is Executive Director of the Michigan Sports Legacy Conservancy, dedicated to preservation of sports in the state of Michigan. Sounds like they're interested in preserving the Detroit Tigers. After a while, we wondered if they were extinct.
Getting more sports worthy of preserving, aren't we?
Yes, definitely. And fun to watch.
Well,
didn't think I'd say that.
The fact that they've, I don't know which is more amazing, the fact they've won 5 straight out of the All-Star break, or they've outscored their opponents. What is it, 43-4 or something crazy number like that?
Do you remember the last time they won 5 straight out of the All-Star break?
No,
you weren't alive.
I don't think so, and especially going into the break by losing 4.
Right.
I mean, we'd have thought this has been the last thing we think they do, but I'll tell you, you and I are talking off the air that maybe Al Avila, we got to open up our minds a little bit more to that. Maybe there's a method to the madness.
Yeah.
Because some of these guys, it's almost like you got to chunk it off.
Right.
Look at the last 5 years versus the 5 years before that. The 5 years before that were useless.
Right.
But the last 5 years or 4 years, you're right. There have been several productive draft picks.
Yeah.
Some productive trades, some productive signings.
And we haven't seen yet if Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson come through.
Yep. Oh, you're right.
Jackson Joe becomes
that raises the success level. Yeah. No question. You mentioned Keel Badu. Someone on his staff found him.
Yeah.
Whether it was him or not is irrelevant.
Probably not him, but if he hired.
If he hired someone that found him, that's his plus column.
Yeah.
The trade for Verlander is starting to pay off a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Between Jake Rogers and Daz Cameron. So Bip, I hadn't thought about that, Jack, but now I got to open my mind to what you said about maybe giving him a little bit more room to work.
Jim, if you don't know it yet, you will. I have many weaknesses and deficiencies, but one of them is not being inflexible in the face of facts.
Well,
and when I see something where I have been wrong, I'm usually quick to admit it. It happens often, but
with me, it's like it's like muscle memory, right?
Yeah.
I'm used to it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of guys that never want to admit they're wrong, in spite of the face of facts.
That's
but we're not those guys.
Right.
However, with Avila, we had plenty of ammunition.
Yeah.
We weren't pulling that out of our ears.
Yeah.
Right.
The information was overwhelmingly against Avila as being a Major League Baseball general manager. It was hard to find many positive things to say, but now I'm finding, Jim, critics in 2 groups, and there are those who are saying, well, okay, now, wait a minute. Let's take another look at this, or let's give him a little more time to make a reevaluation. And there are those who are saying, whatever he does, it's not him, it's somebody else. He'll never be any good. And I can't, it's like politicians who won't come to grips with new facts. I see today, now suddenly, vaccine deniers are saying, take the vaccine.
What a shock, huh?
Yeah. I mean, everything is politically motivated, but I think that for people who say that, Al Avila is the worst, he's certainly not the best, but let's see how this all plays out.
You got my mind working now, because if you look at Avila, you could look at him two ways. You could look at him post Dave Dombrowski and post Mike Ilitch. Because Mike Ilitch was still around when Avila became the general manager. Now,
he should not be charged with the Miguel Cabrera contract, etc.
Nor the Zimmerman contract that just expired.
That's right.
Nor, and we'll have to go back and find the other choking ones.
Right.
But if as anyone that comes in to a managerial position knows, you got old baggage to clear up. I don't care what job it is. So you get some time to do that. So, and his ownership changed, right? So now Mike Ilitch is gone, and Christopher Ilitch has got to learn the business. So maybe we give him a little room for that.
But I'll tell you, two guys who kind of made me put on the brakes a little bit when I talked to him about Avila, and I was ready to drive him to the airport too. I mean, I was in on this party, but Matt Shepard, and I get it, he works for the team. Okay?
Not exactly unbiased, but go ahead.
No, but he was telling me some things I didn't know.
He's a sports guy.
Yeah.
He's a sports guy.
He was explaining a couple of things and clarifying things that I did not know. And
what did he say that was new information to
basically what we just talked about, that there are certain things that he had a say in and certain things he did not. I mean, you don't overrule the owner if you want to keep your job or try to. So, that's one factor. I know how Gibby feels about him. But Lynn Henning, who is pretty unbiased about this.
I put him more in the unbiased column.
And he's the one who said incomplete. The grade is incomplete because we don't know. We can't evaluate. You don't take draft picks and in 2 years say whether they're positive or negative. You have to wait 5 years.
And if you look at Dave Dombrowski's draft picks, they weren't the greatest.
Right.
He ended up trading a lot of them for other people that turned out pretty good. Like they traded 2 of his first-round picks for Miguel Cabrera, which turned out great.
Yeah.
But we didn't judge Dombrowski on those picks because he traded them.
Right.
But guys like Jacob Turner, he didn't turn out.
Right.
So, I'm thinking now maybe I need to revisit this because, again, you had to give Avila some time to work things out with Chris Ilitch, right? So I want to go back to your question you asked when I first sat down.
Yeah.
What did I think of his comments yesterday?
Yeah.
Time will tell. Because here's what I mean.
I agree.
He said the rebuilding is over. We are now building.
Yeah.
Okay, Al, then show me your first building step.
Yeah.
What is the first one? Is it going to be a signing? Is it going to be, if it's all just the same thing, well, now, okay. But if it's actually going to move forward, like I say, with some kind of a real gutsy signing.
Right.
If he's good. But see, to me, Avila's always been very cautious.
But the parameters
you
changed,
said it,
Jim, and you can't spend money you don't have. So
if Chris Ilitch said he'll spend the money when the time's right.
He will now. But when people say, who did they acquire? Well, he acquired Robbie Grossman, another guy that I panned. He's been really good.
Well, and I'll tell you, if you figured out production per dollar spent, Jonathan Scoop this year is one of the best values in Major League Baseball.
Somebody found Willie Peralta.
Yep, someone found Willie Peralta. Yep, he's saving the pitching staff right now.
He's given up 1 earned run in 5 outings.
Yep.
So
and you know else
they've done a lot with a little. Now let's see.
You know who else somebody found? I don't want to miss this guy either. Not Funkhauser, but somebody found. Jose Cisneros.
Yeah.
Where'd he come from?
Right.
He wasn't a draft pick. Somebody found him.
We didn't know him.
And he has been their most consistent relief pitcher now for almost 2 years.
So I hate to say this, but I'm going to, that the Stark plan that you presented here, I'm not saying that Al Avila is going to memorize it tonight if you send it to him, but now everything in life is timing.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
So the timing for that was not right. Now maybe it's getting closer to being right because they are going to look, I think, and if they don't, then it's just been all lip service.
Well, and that's my point about how to judge it. If it's more lip service,
right.
but we skipped over one, not intentionally, but the signing of Hinch as manager, that was gutsy.
Yeah.
If that was Avila,
if
he's went out and did that,
yeah.
Wow, because nobody else. He was toxic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
At least in the baseball world.
Well, he was going to be managing the White Sox.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
they
Tony
backed
La
out,
Russa
right?
resurfaced.
Yeah.
And that was the key.
Right.
Hinch wanted that job.
Yep.
But when the White Sox said, hey, we can get this guy, and he's won how many championships, and he's been here before, and he's part of the White Sox lore, we're going to get Tony back, then there was no job for A.J. Hinch, and the Tigers are saying, hello.
Well, you know what? I came in here, Jack, honestly, I hadn't thought about giving Al Avila any kind of leeway, but now you've kind of convinced me that at least, like you said, like I like Lynn's, what did Lynn say?
Incomplete.
Incomplete.
Yeah. We're not ready to anoint him, okay?
Right. No, but
as executive of the year, but just let's stop the waterboarding.
Well,
can we do that?
And I was as guilty of that as anybody.
Yeah.
Right? But I will say this. He doesn't have a lot of room. If he better start doing something soon. It's not going to, you can't take 5 more years. Okay, now if you're going to say that, now back it up.
Well, I think back to another point that works in his favor. And again, I'm slow to the party with this. The White Sox were miserable. They were like the Tigers.
Right.
Now, they went at it a different way. They didn't do it with pitchers. They did it mostly with position players.
Everyday players,
mostly.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And some key acquisitions. But sometimes you have to be bad before you can be good. And if the Tigers are following that pattern, where's Chicago right now?
They're knocking on the door.
Yeah, they're in first place in the division, and they're
knocking
one of the
door.
3 best teams or 4 best teams, certainly, in the American League.
Yep.
They have a legitimate chance to be in the World Series.
Absolutely. They're as good as anybody in the American League right now. There's no one better than them.
Yeah.
There's other teams that are good,
right,
but no one's better.
Right.
One more thing I wanted to add about that, too, is that we talked about this some weeks ago. One of the keys to the first resurgence back in 2006 was when they signed Pudge Rodriguez. It was a gutsy signing. Yeah. He was. We brought him up when I did my plan. We were talking about Buster Posey versus. Yep. You know what? Here's the question, Jack. Who is Al Avila's Pudge going to be? Who is that first guy he signs to a big money contract?
Well, you wanted to be Buster Posey.
One of them. I mean, but in that mix. But that's going to say a lot. Who is that first guy he signs?
Who do you think it'll be?
I told you who I would go after. Number one is Simeon, the shortstop.
Yeah.
But is it going to be a top line guy? Is it going to be
great?
I mean, but we'll see. Hey, listen, you said it yourself. I know Lynn's another guy that said it. They're very cautious about bringing guys up.
Yes.
Avila is very cautious.
Yeah.
Dave Dombrowski threw caution to the wind. He was a gambler.
Right.
Now his bets won most of the time.
Yeah.
But I don't see Avila as a gambler.
No.
But you know what? Sometimes you got to gamble.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that Avila is great by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm just willing to give him a little bit more slack,
okay,
a little more rope.
But he's got to now deliver on that rope, on that slack, right? He's got to start
his
acting out his
players
plan.
Now are going to be, it's hard to judge Riley Green at 18 and say what he's going to be. You can see guys, there are Ken Griffey's, who you can tell, you just watch him hit a few balls or run in the field. You know that he's going to be special. But there are a lot of other guys. When the Tigers got J.D. Martinez, I mean, we talk about Akil Baddoo. There's another guy that, nobody had a locker for him.
He had a hole in his swing.
Yeah.
And he would not listen to the guys who wanted to fix it. The day he listened to them, the hole closed up. But see, that's the point about Avila, is you can't just sign A-list guys. You got to find a B-list in this, like a Scoop, like a Baddoo. That's how you win. And you sign a couple top guys. I mean, a Simeon's a no-brainer. Signing a Max Scherzer is a no-brainer. But you got to find the other guys, the guys underneath the leaves. And that's what we'll see Avila and his staff if they really have developed that eye for talent. But you're right. In the last 3 or 4 years, they've delivered. Other than the free agent signings of the last 2 years, those 1-year guys, they haven't paid off really, other than Scoop. And even the pitchers this year have not paid out. Urena and Tehran have been hurt most of the year, but they got to find a couple of those guys and keepers like Jose Cisneros. That's what they got to find.
Okay, the biggest surprise, other than Akil Baddoo and Willie Peralta, on this Tigers team, the most pleasant surprise in 2021 is?
Well, we're not going to Scoop, right? We're not counting him. We're talking about a young guy. Or could it be a Scoop?
Count him if you want.
I think a Scoop. I never expected him to have this kind of power, to have 60 RBIs and 18 home runs.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm surprised that Scope is not a guy that other teams want.
Yeah.
And when I've talked to a couple of people, I said, well, you can't be right. I'm going to ask somebody else. They tell me the same thing. There's no demand for Jonathan Scope.
And I don't get that. He's a major league everyday player.
Plays multiple positions.
He's a locker room plus.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But now that here's my surprise though.
Yeah.
Is Haas.
Oh yeah. Good one.
I think Jack, to expect him to have 14 home runs and 30 RBIs and play a decent catcher.
Yeah.
Right now he's the only catcher they got.
Plays outfield.
Right? And that is the biggest surprise. Where did that come from?
Yeah. And when he hit those early home runs, I never thought he would be a stolen base threat. Now he's not Ricky Henderson, but
he can run a little bit.
He can run a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think he's been the biggest surprise. Scoop wasn't really, because Scoop was an all-star with the Orioles, but a surprise. And Haas, again, local guy, came out of Divine Child in Dearborn.
Right.
That's always a little bit of a plus to have a local tie.
Right. The best thing A.J. Hinch has done is
manage the pitching staff. I think he's done a marvelous job of, and I know Chris Fetter is the pitcher, but it's all comes down to what Hinch does in terms of pulling guys. He's gone with the right guy at the right time in terms of those bullpen starts.
Right.
You know, he's managed to keep these guys with these huge ERAs and keep them productive.
Okay, I was going to go in a different direction. I'll tell you why. I was going to give Chris Fetters a lot of credit because I know that he did
I do too.
So, maybe A.J. Hinch or whoever for bringing Chris Fetters in. So you have to give him credit that way.
But Hinch still makes the decisions as far as who comes in, who comes out in the rotation.
Yeah, and I've had some issues with that with the bullpen.
Okay.
Pitchers who haven't gone long enough, he's pulled them too quickly. Two other things I think that he's done a masterful job of. One is bringing a team back from a 9-24 start.
I agree with that.
They have a great chance to have 3 straight months above 500, and you take out that 9-24. You kept telling me we need to do that.
Well, I said the first 20, but really that's the first 30 or 35. But you're right; it's a whole different season since then.
Yeah, and I said, well, let's take out the second group then. If they've been so good, thinking that they were closer to April than they were to May, turns out May is kind of who they are.
Right.
So that turnaround and not just on the field, but the psychological part of that.
Yep.
To completely flip the switch. The other thing is to create an atmosphere or an environment. This is one of the things I used to love about covering games. Still do, but especially baseball, because you're around these guys for so long before the games.
Right.
And you watch them. And, anybody can watch the game and say, well, he doesn't do this or he didn't do that right. But it's watching guys, and then you find out what their ceiling is, what they're capable of, how they interact, what kind of people they are. And he has made, I'm betting, the Tigers clubhouse a fun place to be.
Well, you made a great point because I have not been in the clubhouse, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But I remember Jim Leno's clubhouses weren't always the greatest places to be.
No.
He ran a
Brad
tight ship.
Osmus's clubhouses were a wreck.
Yeah. I'm thinking about who with how far. Let's see. Well, I remember Sparky's clubhouses.
Right.
They were a whole different style because they had so many veterans.
Right.
But the 06 clubhouse.
But Sparky and Leland both. I mean, you did it their way.
Oh, they were in charge. When they walked through the locker room, everybody knew who was in charge.
Right.
With Osmus, no one was in charge.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, I'm gonna, until I see it and feel it, and I won't. But I'm gonna. That's one of the first things I do when I go to a game is try to get a feel for the clubhouse.
And I'll tell you one of the reasons I say that is Miguel Cabrera was sulking. Okay, when his career changed, he couldn't deal with it, and now he knows he's never going to win a Triple Crown again. He's never going to win any individual category, but he's out there. He's having fun. He's being a team guy. He's not talking about what I will or won't do anymore. He's
And
tagging up and going on fly balls.
He's being productive.
He is.
He's being an asset.
Watching him hit that double the other night, and then instead of just parking on second base, taking third base with that slide, and he was out, and then they reviewed it, and they said he was safe. He never would have done that.
You know
before.
what? I like that, Jack. I think you could almost say one of the most impressive things is the way Hinch has managed Cabrera. Because you're right, Cabrera could have been a dumpster fire.
Right.
He could have brought that whole locker room down. All those Latin players could have followed him down the sewer. But because he did not want to be a DH. He made that clear. Right. But Hinch has got him to accept being. What is he like a 4 out of 5 DH now, or roughly like 4 out of 5 games as DH? But to accept that and be productive, that's in a low. Because let's face it, you said it earlier. They're not getting rid of Cabrera. They're going to keep him until he gets his 3,000 hits and his 500 home runs. That's a given. They can't trade his contract. But Hinch has made that productive, and that alone is worthwhile.
We talk about the turnaround, and the Tigers were 15 games under 500 at that point. They were 9-24, minus 15. Now they are plus 9 since then. Over the past 11 weeks, they're 9 games over 500, and we said, well, if this team, they're not going to play 500 ball, but if they can get up to, they're 9 games over.
You throw out those first 20, 35 games, and they're fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
They're right there.
Yeah.
And you could even say...
And doing it with their 5 starting pitchers, none of them are there.
The 5 opening day starting pitchers, none of them are pitching right now.
Yeah. Plus Fulmer.
Well, it was one of the 5.
Oh, okay.
I had because he was one of the 5 starters coming out at camp.
I got you.
So he's one of the 5.
Right.
So it's Tehran, Urania, Boyd, Turnbull, and Fulmer. Those are the 5. Those are the 5 starting pitchers on opening day coming out of Florida.
Now, I want to watch what he does with Mize moving forward.
And then Skubal. Skubal's next
too.
on the list, right? He's not going to throw him 6-7 innings if they're worried about inning pitch count.
Right. And this is where I think one of my chronic complaints is pitchers who don't throw strikes. But if Casey Mize wants to pitch deeper into games, he's going to throw strikes. He's not going to have full counts on guys. He's going to be throwing strikes, trusting his stuff, trusting his defense, and you can pitch another inning. You can go 5 instead of 4. He pitches 4 shutout innings. He doesn't get the win, right?
Oh no, he
did
knows
that the other day.
He knows that.
He pitches 5 innings. He has some shorter counts, gets guys to hit the first pitch. Now he's got a W.
Well, Jack Morris talks a lot about that when Mize was pitching. The fact that Morris learned it was more important to get guys out than strike them out.
Yes.
Getting out is what you got to do.
That's right.
How you get them out is secondary.
Baseball is a very simple game in this way, Jim. There's more nuance than anyone would guess, but it really comes down to 2 things. There are 2 units of measurement. There's the run. There's a number of times that you touch home plate. And there are outs, and you have 27 of them that you need to procure. It's not measured on how many strikeouts you get. You can strike out 13 guys and lose by 6 runs.
Right.
But if you get outs, and there are lots of ways to get them, you can strike them out, you can throw them out, you can make guys pop the ball up. That's what it's about.
Well, in that basic equation, Jack, comes the whole argument, well, what's the best way to get runs? You can get a run by a base hit, a steal, a bunt, and then a bunt, right? Or you wait for a 3-run home run. There's a lot of argument about the best way to get runs, but you're right. When it boils right down, if you get more runs in a guy and get the outs quicker, you win. How you get them is inconsequential. You can get 1 run or get 10 runs. As long as you got 1 more than the other guy, that's all that matters.
Yeah, so in terms of where the Tigers need to go, the rest of the season, the All-Star break, it's a misnomer. It's not midway through the season.
It's more than half. Yeah. It's like I think it's like 58 or almost 60% of the season's over by the All-Star game.
So now, are we going to see Riley Green coming up?
Well, I think I'm not sure about Green because remember he was the high schooler.
High school. Torkelson?
I think you'll see Torkelson. And I think you'll see Dingler before the end of the season. Those 2 guys, I think you'll see. The other pitchers, there really isn't anybody. Just Joey Wentz, who was the guy that had the Tommy John. They got him in a trade with Atlanta. He is probably the top guy left we haven't seen yet.
Let me give you one other thing getting back to this, Jim. And again, I didn't come to this easily. That make me say I was a little too hard on Al Avila. Where's Jacoby Jones?
Jacoby Jones?
Where's Nomar Mazara?
You know what? And he, did he pull the string fast enough? Certainly Mazzari did, because he only signed him this year. Jones, they waited maybe, but you're right.
But they have an investment.
He pulled
in these
the string.
guys. They want to wait and see.
He did pull the string.
Right? Eventually, he
the
said
the catcher that they signed this year. The same thing. They pulled a string on him. Ramos.
Yeah. So he's not afraid to say, "Okay, we tried it. It didn't work." Who's to say that one of those guys, when they picked those three guys up, they thought they were going to be better than Akil Baddoo?
Two things I think are playing what you just said. One, I think maybe Avila is starting to feel like he understands his room in the Chris Ilitch world. With Mike Ilitch, it's a whole different thing. But maybe he's starting to feel his way. Second thing is maybe he's given Hinch more authority than we understand in terms of being part of these decisions.
And maybe Chris Ilitch will come to trust Al Avila or someone's judgment there more. I don't know Chris Ilitch. Maybe you do.
I know of him,
I've never spoken to him. I had spoken to Mike.
Right.
But I don't know what his baseball knowledge is. I'm guessing it isn't great.
It's not great. And the biggest rap on him is he doesn't make a decision.
Yeah.
He'll let things kind of boil versus making a decision. He's not a decisive guy.
If he was like his dad in any way, then he would think that he knew a lot more about baseball.
No, he's not. Mike. Yeah, you're right. Mike's biggest fault when he got the Tigers is he thought he could run a team.
Yeah.
And him and his buddies.
Yeah.
Him and his gang. Right.
Right.
But no, Chris Ilitch doesn't have that illusion.
Tigers
but
aren't
Chris Ilitch,
Adria Appliance.
But remember, Chris Ilitch is still Marion Ilitch's son.
Yeah.
Marion still has an awful lot of influence with Chris.
And we don't know what their relationship is with Al Avila.
Right.
And are they going to be able to open the purse strings? And when he says we're building, not rebuilding, is he speaking for himself? Is he speaking for the people who control the purse?
He didn't say that unless he got the go-ahead to say it. Yeah. I guarantee you that. Yeah. There's no way he went on a limb and said that without having the backing to say it. And you're right. Marion Ilitch has always held the purse strings for the whole Ilitch organization. Maybe she's now being sold on giving it a little more room, right? Maybe. Because when we see 30-some thousand the other day, the crowds are starting to come back. And so revenue drives the Ilitches love to make money.
Yeah. And they had a great crowd for that doubleheader.
Yep.
2 7-inning wins.
Yep.
And one of the factors, obviously, is that they're a fun team to watch. 2 is they're being successful. But I also think that people said, you know what? We're going to get a little extra bonus baseball here. We're going to get 2 7-inning games instead of 2 9-inning games. I used to love to go to doubleheaders. I wouldn't go to a doubleheader now.
Yeah.
Too much.
Would you go to a 2 7-inning?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And people will say, well, that's not real baseball. Well, what happens if you get a game that is called at the end of 5 innings on rain?
When you say real baseball, is that 1930 baseball? No. Is it 2020 baseball? Maybe. Listen, baseball has got to grab themselves by the shorts and say, you know what? We better change or we're going to perish.
Baseball's biggest problem, bigger than anything else, bigger than they had with steroids, is that people are too wedded to the past. It's too tradition-oriented, and I get it. I mean, I watched every inning of Ken Burns still, all 10 of them. But I think when you look at baseball people, they are purists. It's like soccer people.
Yep.
It's like the game is sacred.
Yep.
You can't improve it. You can't develop it. You can't change it. There were people who didn't want integration in the game. There were people who didn't want night baseball in the game. There were people who didn't
interleague play. We can't have that. That'll ruin baseball.
Designated hitter. You can't have all these changes to the game. It's sacred. It's pure. It's great. You know what? You can change it. Hey, there were people in this country who didn't think you should have indoor plumbing.
Somebody thought that was a radical idea. Somebody thought the VCR was going to put the movie business out of business.
Yeah. Streaming. No, streaming.
Yeah.
No, never heard of that.
Internet's a fad. It's going to go away.
Yeah. So,
well,
keep an open mind.
And you know what, though? The single biggest on-the-field problem I think they have, I agree with you with that, is the games are too long.
Yeah.
And you know what? Right. I don't care. They can do all the marketing they want.
Right.
3 hours a game is too long.
All right. Thanks for coming in, Jim. Really appreciate it. This was fun.
Well, before I go, though,
you
got to give me a little credit. I did say the Bucks were the favorites because Giannis, I thought, had the strongest desire to win, and he let him.
Well, I said it with my wallet.
You did. You did. See, that's I got to start listening to you more because I don't have the guts to do that. But I do feel good about the fact that I picked them weeks ago. And you know what? It's nice to see a small market team win in a sport.
Absolutely. We will be right back. We're going to talk with Ryan Field. He is the sports director, WABC in New York, the #1 affiliate in the country. And he has a scary story for us about COVID. We'll be right back on The Drive with Jack.
Call it a sense of purpose, a higher calling, essential to our children's future. We call it our passion at Dean Transportation. We are a family, hardworking folks who for more than 60 years have connected children to learning, schools to our communities, and you to a better career, pioneering the best in health and safety standards because it's simply what we do, because safe student transportation has always been essential. Dean is now hiring community-focused individuals for immediate school bus driver, attendant, and mechanic positions for local schools throughout mid-Michigan. To learn more, visit jobs@dean.com/Lansing. Experienced applicants will receive up to a $750 sign-on bonus. For individuals with no prior experience, Dean will pay you to train. Positions may also allow you to start and stop work from local parking locations or your home throughout mid-Michigan. If you're looking to make the community a better place, we'll put you in the driver's seat. Join the Dean Transportation family today at jobs@dean.com/Lansing.
Welcome to Be the Referee with veteran MHSAA official Sam Davis.
One of the long-term strategies in the game of football is deception. It has a lot of other names and most often goes these days by the name of trickery. Catching an opponent off guard can break a game wide open, but catching the officiating crew off guard is something you don't want to have happen, or else your big play may be blown dead inadvertently. That's why during the pregame meeting the officiating crew has with each head coach, one of the questions that will be asked is, Coach, do you have any trick plays that we should be watching for? And coaches, who are usually tight-lipped about a lot of their strategies, will be very open and describe in detail anything fancy that's in the playbook for that game. This type of communication gets coaches and officials on the same page and ensures that when trickery comes visiting, only the opponents are surprised.
Thanks, Sam. You can be a referee. Go online now to MHSAA.com to register. Be the Referee is a production of the MHSAA Network.
Thinking of a new air conditioning unit for your home? Hi, Peggy Doty with Doty Mechanical. A new Carrier high-efficiency AC unit will lower your energy usage and increase your home comfort. Current Carrier Cool Cash offers and available utility rebates mean your savings have never been better.
Call Doty Mechanical today at 327-7777 or visit us at dotymechanical.com for your free estimate. For heating and cooling, the names to know, Doty Mechanical and Carrier, turn to the experts.
Jack Epler here with my good friend Matt Sloan at Graph of Okemos. Matt, you got some new product, including electric vehicles.
Yeah, we got a lot of new product coming, Jack. On the Chevy side, we've got the 2022 Bolt EV and all-new Bolt EUV, which is just redesigned from the ground up. We're really excited about that. That's going to be hitting a lot any day now. Next door at Nissan, we've got the all-new redesigned Pathfinder from the ground up. I got to sit in it recently, drop dead gorgeous. And then we have the 2022 Frontier as well, which is completely redesigned. So fantastic product coming, and we're really excited.
Stop by and see Matt and company here at Graph of Okemos. They're making friends.
I'm Tony Cuthbert with your Spotlight Sports Update. The Bucks are NBA champions for the first time in 50 years after beating the Suns 105-98 in Game 6 of the NBA Finals in Milwaukee. Giannis Antetokounmpo went off for 50 points and 14 boards, earning NBA Finals MVP honors. The Bucks become just the fifth team to win a title after trailing 2-0 in the finals. Chris Middleton netted 17 points and Bobby Portis posted 16 points off the bench and the victory. The Tigers' winning streak is up to 5 games after a 4-1 victory over the Texas Rangers at Comerica Park. Robbie Grossman and Eric Haas each had a solo homer, and Tarek Skubal allowed just 1 run in his start. Matt Manning gets the nod for Detroit tonight, while Texas sends Jordan Lyles to the mound. And Tigers starting pitcher Spencer Turnbull will undergo Tommy John surgery and miss the rest of the 2021 season and most or all of 2022.
You're listening to The Drive with Jack Epperling.
When I pick those balls out, I don't want anyone rubbing them. To me, they're perfect.
SpotlightMediaStudios.com.
Well, welcome back. It is The Drive with Jack, the Spotlight Radio Network. Jack Epperling here with my producer, Alex Heward. I want to thank Jim Stark for making the trip up and being with us. Want to go out on our guest line, Alex, and welcome in one of my favorite guests, Ryan Field. Cut his teeth here in Lansing, and then on to Fox 2 in Detroit and Fox Sports Detroit, now Bally Sports Detroit, and then FS1, the first voice you heard, now with WABC in New York. Doing a great job there as sports anchor. Ryan, how are you?
Great to hear from you, Jack. Things are well, my friend.
I am glad to hear you say things are well, because I was a little surprised to see your post about COVID and your bout with it, but I thought that it was very important what you had done and what you had said and the warning that's out there for all of us. You want to explain that?
For sure. I mean, it definitely caught me by surprise. A week ago, it'll be 2 weeks ago tomorrow, I started just having some allergy-like symptoms. I had to get tested because I was supposed to work the ESPYs red carpet 2 days later, Saturday here in New York, and I took a PCR test. Results came back on Saturday, and it was a strange timing. I woke up Saturday morning and felt like I'd been hit by a truck, and urgent care called me about an hour later and said that I had contracted the virus. And, for the next 36 hours, I had all the symptoms: fevers, chills, body aches, extreme headaches, extreme congestion, loss of taste and smell. And you're talking about a guy and myself who was double vaccinated with the Pfizer vaccine. And, the question I got from a lot of people right off the bat was, well, I didn't think you could get coronavirus if you have the vaccine. That's the first misnomer, because you can still catch the virus.
Sure.
And I was definitely, the second part of it is I was in the small percentage of people, the lucky ones we call it, who were had all the symptoms despite being double vaccinated. And that's what you're seeing now with this Delta variant that now makes up more than 80% of the cases in the country. It's mutated from its original form to this variant, and it's nasty. And I can tell you that firsthand. So it was important for me to tell everybody that if you can get the vaccination and you're comfortable doing that, obviously it's a life choice. It's a decision that everybody has to make on their own, but if you feel comfortable enough to do it, I think it's important that everybody does, because 99% of the people right now that are hospitalized are unvaccinated people. So I don't know how many more statistics need to come out to wake people up here to get a vaccination. And look, I'm not the patron saint of doing all things right here, so I don't want to make it seem like I'm preaching to people. But I do feel like there's a level of common sense here that has to be applied, and that's why it was important for me to get that message out, to describe my own experience, and I'm happy to report, 9 out of the 10 messages and comments and calls have all been positive. People thanking me for sharing my story and the importance of getting the message out. And again, I understand it's a life choice, and everybody has the right to do whatever they want. It's their body. But I think if you can find the strength and courage to get it done, I think it's going to be very important to keeping you out of the hospital. And then people said to me, well, did the vaccine work? You had all the symptoms. Well, the vaccine is designed to keep you out of the hospital. And I did not have to go to the hospital. I never had any breathing issues. It felt like a bad flu bug minus the puking. So it's frankly what it felt like for 36 hours. And then I just had congestion, and my smell and taste just started to come back on Saturday. And now it's almost fully back. But yeah, I mean, you see all these cases where, obviously it could have been so much worse. Am I happy I got vaccinated? You bet. And I hope other people will, heed my example and follow suit. And, we can try to beat this thing before it's too late for too many other people.
And you can guess what it might have been like for you had you not been vaccinated, and we might not be having this conversation today.
Yeah, and the doctors were quick to point that out as well. And look, I understand the skepticism, and I understand how this has gotten so political. I mean, trust me, I work in news in New York. Yeah. I know all that's going on here with all of this. But it's one of those things where, it's become so politicized that I think people are letting politics get in the way of common sense here.
Yeah.
And I think that's the message that needs to be delivered no matter where you fall on the political spectrum. I think your health and the health of those around you should be first and foremost the priority. And hopefully as more of these stories come out and more people get vaccinated, that more and more people will decide to do it. But again, it's a life choice. I understand it's not for everybody, and it's a very sensitive topic. Yeah. And there was a little trepidation, me going on social media yesterday, in terms of I didn't know what type of reaction I was going to get.
Right.
But I was pleasantly surprised that for the most part it was very positive.
I have been ripped somewhat locally here, Ryan, for being definitely in the pro-vax camp. And I've been outspoken about it. I've had some friends who were reluctant, and I've chewed their ass about it a couple of times because I think that they're being risky and foolish. And I understand that there is a history with vaccines in this country, and for some people and some groups it's very tough to reconcile that. But I think that the United States has done such a good job of trying to make it accessible now. And it's almost the point that if you haven't been vaccinated today, it's because you didn't want to be vaccinated. And you've made a conscious decision not to be. And the fact that for political purposes, as you say, this has been used as a wedge issue. I told someone the other night, look, I know what television stations you watch, but who owns the station you watch? Rupert Murdoch owns it, and guess what? He was one of the first people vaccinated. The former president is vaccinated. His family is vaccinated. Many of the congressional leaders who, in my mind, have been hypocrites with discouraging the vaccination, they've been vaccinated. Now, they're starting to get some turnaround, but it's only because people see now there's a different side to it politically. So we're starting to suddenly this week see people who had been anti-vaccination come out in favor of it. But when you see what's happening, and if you have 40% of those who have not been, or 40% of those who now have tested positive with the Delta variant coming from 4 states, you see the political nature of this.
No question about it. And I thought it was big that, Sean Hannity came out the other day, said he believes in science, believes in vaccination.
Yes.
Just for that whole camp. And look, Jack, we live in a country that is based on freedom, and we have the freedom to do as we choose, and that's what makes us the greatest. That's what makes us the greatest country in the world, because we have freedoms and we're allowed to do things that, frankly, other citizens in other countries aren't as fortunate. But it's those freedoms at the same time that are kind of being part of the problem here, because people don't want to wear their masks. People don't want to get vaccinated. And I get it. People don't like being told what to do. I don't like being told what to do. And what this country was founded on is the freedom to do as we choose and do what you want, and whatever makes you happy, you do to make you happy. And I get all of that. And I think that is the bigger issue here, that we're kind of fighting, what this country was built on. And now we're being told that some of these freedoms, quote unquote, are being taken away, and you're being told what to do. And people have a real problem with that. And I understand it. There has to be some level of common sense and some middle ground here. And to your point, I hope we're finally turning the corner here in a lot of those respects.
Yeah, and I think there are always reasons for things, but, I always want to know why people have made those decisions. It's like when people insisted on riding motorcycles without helmets, and I would talk to people and I would say, here are the statistics on this. Here's a picture of someone who sailed off the bike, and this person's in the hospital rehabbing, and this person's underground.
Right.
So which group do you want to be in? And sometimes people think that they are immune or impenetrable or they can't be touched by this. But, you're a perfect example of someone who did everything right. And it shows that COVID is going to make the selection here on this. You can be very unlucky. I look at the New York Yankee players. I mean, how many of them had been vaccinated who were affected by this? Right?
They've had several breakthrough cases, and the doctors said based on my symptoms and everything else that I was basically a breakthrough case.
Yeah.
And again, that's when, the flip side to this is if I don't want to get vaccinated, I'm saying, well, you still got sick anyway. So I can understand why people are saying that. Well, I thought the vaccination was supposed to prevent you from getting symptoms.
Can't prevent you.
It doesn't prevent you. The goal is designed to keep you out of the hospital,
right?
Which 99.5% of the time it's going to do just that.
Look at the number of people who are being hospitalized and those who are passing away, who have been vaccinated versus those who have not been vaccinated.
And that's the thing. I mean, the numbers tell the story, but again, I understand why people have trepidation, and I understand why there are some people that don't want to do it. And frankly, I wish nothing but the best for those people, and I hope that they end up, not getting sick, and we don't have to tell any sad stories, because at the end of the day, it is a person's choice to do what they want, and I fully understand that. And I respect people's decisions, but again, I just hope there's some common sense here that prevails at some point.
And I hope if people are making that decision not to be vaccinated, they are making it because of personal conviction and not to make a political statement.
Yep.
So anyway.
I hope so as well, my friend. And I'm just happy I'm here talking to you, and it's now over and done with for me, and now I have the vaccination and the antibodies, so I'm basically indestructible, Jack. That's what I've decided. I'm going to go ride my motorcycle without a helmet. How's that sound?
Well, I'm going to be the first person in line for the booster shot when they have those available.
And yes, and I think a lot of people will be as well. And look, there's something else we should point out, too. We are so lucky in the United States that we have an abundance of vaccines. We're giving these away where so many other countries don't have that luxury. They have people fighting to get vaccinated because they just don't have the supply. And again, this country has really, come a long ways in terms of, how we've handled this and how we've, what we've done, even going back to the last administration who kind of jump-started this whole thing with getting the vaccines going. And, we're in a great position as a society that we have so many vaccinations readily available that don't cost a thing. It's silly to not contemplate going to get one and protecting you and your family from hopefully getting real sick.
All right, let's talk a little bit of sports here, Ryan. You covered the Detroit Pistons and all the Detroit teams and college teams here too, but I want to start with the NBA Finals. And what we saw last night from Giannis Antetokounmpo, not just the 50 points, but the 5 block shots and 17 for 19 at the foul line. When did he suddenly turn into Rick Barry or Calvin Murphy?
Yeah, that was the most incredible part of last night for me. I mean, he was the 7th player ever to have 50 points in a finals game, which already put him in some pretty exclusive company. But this little nugget I saw earlier, that he said that he practiced free throws by making his coaches and his girlfriend, who was carrying his baby at the time, run every time he missed a free throw. And it said that seeing people pay for the mistakes that he was making was torture for him. And that forced him to become a better free throw shooter here over the course of this series. So, it's remarkable. A story like that came out, and that's really what motivated him. But everybody's got their own ways of, trying to hone their craft. And this is what brought him to become a better free throw shooter last night. But for a guy who it felt like 50% at best, to come out and make 17 and 19 in a deciding game, frankly, was remarkable. And it's a credit to him. For finding a way to get it done, but just what a special player. And, a lot of folks today are saying that he's been handed the torch from LeBron as the best player in the NBA. And after what you saw last night with that all-around performance, it's kind of hard to argue with that.
Absolutely. So, how should the Bucks be regarded? I've heard people say that this year has a mini asterisk, and it's not really. They're not the most deserving champion. I think any team that can go 16-7 and win 3 series on the road, come back and beat Brooklyn after being down 0-2, including a 39-point whipping, to come back from 0-2 against Phoenix and really change itself over the course of these series deserves a lot of credit.
No question about it. And the asterisk talk, I mean, I understand it because there were so many injuries in the league in the playoffs with so many all-stars going down. I get all that, but what this team accomplished, there should be no asterisks by it whatsoever. There was nothing fluky about it, especially that Game 7 win right here in Brooklyn that I watched firsthand. And crazy to think, they're about 4 inches of Kevin Durant's foot from not even winning the title.
Right.
Because had his toe not been on the line,
right,
the series is over, and the Nets are probably winning the NBA championship. So it literally was a game of inches, and that's what led the Bucks to winning the title. And it's just a great story, especially for the NBA. I thought Giannis's quote was great about you don't have to join a super team to win a championship. Yep. You got the Bucks, a small market team. Yep. I just think overall, I know the ratings were crap compared to what they're used to, but I just thought, if you watch those last 3 or 4 games, that was some great basketball.
Great. Yeah.
High-level basketball. It was just tremendous, and I thought Giannis put on one hell of a show last night, and that scene both in the arena and outside the arena was just incredible with all the fans there celebrating.
Yeah.
And, Milwaukee, much like Detroit, Chicago, these Midwestern towns, with such a passionate fan base. You love to see good things happen, and I couldn't be happier for the Bucks and their franchise. Now, I'm not happy about the fact that they're in the Pistons division because it feels like the Pistons have not beaten the Bucks in about 10 years because of Giannis.
Right.
So, as their rebuild gets accelerated here with hopefully Cade Cunningham coming next week, they have a very big elephant in the room here and having to deal with the Bucks for the foreseeable future in their own division.
It's hard to realize that Giannis is 26.
Right.
And you were probably around with Chris Middleton when
I was there. That was the last draft I covered with Andre Drummond and Kim English. Chris Middleton, because of an injury, fell to the second round and then he played 1 season before he was traded for Brandon Jennings.
Right.
So,
right.
Quick Pistons history lesson. But yes, I was there for that draft when he got picked, and nobody at the time, even when they traded him, could have foreseen him becoming the player he was today.
The story is that John Hammond, who went from Detroit to Milwaukee, was trying to make this deal, and it was the Brandons. It was Jennings and Brandon Knight.
Right.
And the numbers don't add up. And so often in the NBA, people say, why don't you make this trade? Well, the numbers have to match.
Right.
And so they were looking for somebody, and it just so happened that Chris Middleton had the right number. Now, I've been told that the Pistons were not thrilled about losing him, but it wasn't a deal breaker. So they threw him in, but the Bucks, they didn't know what they were getting. They just wanted to get the other guy.
Right.
And then, and here they wind up and it all works out.
Yeah, and you know what? And the trade really could have worked out well for both teams because you recall when Brandon Jennings was with the Pistons, he was really, really a good player.
Yeah.
And then he blew out his Achilles and was never the same after that. So an injury really changed the whole trajectory, you could argue, of the franchise and certainly of that trade and how it's viewed. But yeah, he was a good player before he got hurt. So it's just funny looking back at it. The old hindsight is always 20/20, and that's certainly the case here.
What do you make of the Tigers out there? They started 9-24. We're just talking about Jim Stark. They're 9 games over 500 cents. Not going to be in the playoffs, but there's some signs here to be interested in this team.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And for a franchise and a fan base that hasn't had much to cheer about really in 5 years, and it just seemed like a never-ending rebuild. We're finally starting to see the light. I think that's a credit to A.J. Hinch, who's arguably a top 3, if not the best manager in the game today. And the Tigers were so fortunate that the White Sox went with Tony La Russa instead of Hinch.
Right.
And with all the young pitchers, and look at all the injuries they still have to deal with from Matthew Boyd and Fulmer and all the some of the offensive players. I feel like they haven't even been healthy this whole season, and they're still putting on this great run since May. And then you go back right before the All-Star break, even if they would have split 2 of those games with the Twins instead of getting swept, all of a sudden they're pushing 500 right now. So it's a remarkable turnaround.
Hey, glad to talk with you and know that you're healthy again and appreciate your message. Ryan Field from WABC in New York. Also want to thank Carlton Valentine for joining us. Tom Lang with The Long Drive, our golf segment. Nathan Clark from Greater Lansing Amateur Golf Association. Brian Harris from Forest Acres. And Jim Stark talking Tigers baseball. We'll be back with you tomorrow, everyone. Have a great night.
Hi, this is Kristen Belzer, and I am the host of Connect with KB. I've spent my career building relationships and connecting people. My work with local and state chambers, state government, and now the life of an entrepreneur